Many of you have sent me article after article talking about the new revelation involving Justin Fairfax, and I already knew about it because I had received the notification to my phone probably before people started sending me the email. And the last time I did a video on Justin Fairfax was just a couple days ago. It was talking about how this woman, who I actually found out her name is Dr. Vanessa Tyson, and it said back in 2004 he sexually assaulted her in some type of way. And I'm looking at it like, okay, this doesn't sound right, especially with all the stuff that's happening with Ralph Northam and that Mark Herring character. And now something else has come out where this woman by the name of Meredith Watson says that Justin Fairfax back in 2000 forced her to give him oral sex. Now, I understand if someone is forcibly, raping you and, through penetration and something like that, that's, like that's intense as it is. But if I know how a woman will operate, if a man is trying to force to give you oral sex, let's just say she has some chompers on her, and that will immediately make her scurry and run away. But let's just say that didn't work. Let's say it actually did happen. It's just something about this whole thing that just does not sit right with me at all. Like, you had one woman come out, and now you have another one coming out, and with the midst of Ralph Northam and that other guy. And thanks to everyone who corrected me down in the comment section, because at first I had said that Justin Fairfax was the first black governor of Virginia, but actually it turns out that there was another one before him back in the 90s, and Justin Fairfax could possibly be the second one. But they simply do not want him to be in that position. And what's so crazy is all this stuff that's coming up about Justin Fairfax is merely hearsay. There's no true hardcore evidence that he did what he's accused of. Yet you have evidence that Ralph Northam and that Herring guy did what they did. You have pictures showing that, and they're not forcing them to resign as heavily or as much as they are with Justin Fairfax. Like I said, it's all a ploy, because what they want is they want a Republican in that seat. I actually touched on that a little bit in the last video I did. They want a Republican in that seat. That's what it's all boiling down to. But they're really hitting Justin Fairfax hard because they know it's two things. One, he's black, that's obvious. And two, because they know he would probably get a lot of support to get into that position. What I'm going to do is read this article coming from the New York Times. It's titled, "Justin Fairfax Faces Eroding Support from Democrats After New Accuser Speaks." A second woman came forward Friday with claims that she had been sexually assaulted by Lieutenant Governor Justin E. Fairfax of Virginia, intensifying the week-long political crisis in the state and leading some top fellow Democrats to call for Mr. Fairfax to resign. Now, mind you, Justin Fairfax is a Democrat himself. His fellow Democrats are telling him that he needs to resign. I'm telling him he needs to fight this all the way to the end, because I, for one, do not believe these accusations that are being put forth against him. I mean, the irony of all of this coming out now when stuff with Ralph Northam is happening. That's just like, this is like Me Too all over again. When the Me Too thing kicked up, it was them going after white men like in a constant rotation, and then all of a sudden a black person came up, a black man came up, and then that's who they wanted to hone their scope in on and focus merely on that person. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to do all of this so it can take the heat off of Ralph Northam and that Herring character. It says, "The woman, Meredith Watson, accused Mr. Fairfax of raping her while they were students at Duke University in 2000, saying in a statement that his actions were premeditated and aggressive, and demanding that he resign immediately. Ms. Watson spoke out 2 days after Vanessa Tyson, a political science professor from California, said she was assaulted by Mr. Fairfax in 2004 during Democratic National Convention in Boston. By Friday evening, Mr. Fairfax was facing a wave of calls for his resignation. Democrats in the Virginia House and Senate urged him to step down, saying He could no longer fulfill his duties to the Commonwealth, as did the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus, a powerful bloc within the General Assembly. Patrick Hope, a Democrat in the Virginia House, said he would introduce articles of impeachment against Mr. Fairfax on Monday if the lieutenant governor had not resigned by then. Now you see how all of this is just reading itself out. They are going in trying to get this man out. They're not even allowing him to defend himself. Meanwhile, you got Ralph Northam going to meet with these SPLC so-called black leaders to pander, to try to keep his position, even though it's evidence out there that this man is a racist. And they're not coming down nearly as hard on him. Yeah, sure, they put out there that they want him to resign, but they are drawing up papers, resignation papers against Justin Fairfax, just in case he doesn't want to bow out gracefully. They are literally trying to force this man out because they know and they're scared he can get into the position that a black man has not held in damn near 30 years. Mr. Fairfax, in a statement, denied all allegations and called the latest one demonstrably false. I probably botched that word. He vowed he would not resign. I demand a full investigation into these unsubstantiated and false allegations. Such an investigation will confirm my account because I am telling the truth. After days of intense pressure on the state's Democratic governor and attorney general over past incidents when they wore blackface, the spotlight has swung quickly to Mr. Fairfax, which, like I said, is no coincidence, who only days ago had been preparing for a possibility of becoming the state's second African-American governor if Governor Ralph Northam bows to calls to resign. Now, Mr. Fairfax is facing those demands himself in Virginia and nationally. After Ms. Watson's allegation became public, prominent Democrats, including former Governor Terry McAuliffe of Virginia and Senators Cory Booker. Now that part pissed me off right here. Listen to this. Cory Booker, Kirsten Gillibrand, and Kamala Harris, all 2020 presidential candidates, said Mr. Fairfax should step down. I don't know who that Kirsten Gillibrand chick is, but I'm familiar with that Cory Booker and that Kamala Harris. How ironic that those two are on the charge saying that this man needs to step down. Mind you, Cory Booker and Kamala Harris have not said anything about Ralph Northam resigning. But the minute some dust gets kicked up on a black man, here they come. Reason number 1 billion trillion gazillion why I would not throw my support behind either one of those two fools. The allegations against Justin Fairfax are serious and credible, Mr. McAuliffe said. It is clear to me that he can no longer effectively serve the people of Virginia as lieutenant governor. Like I said, they are literally throwing the gauntlet down on Justin Fairfax. They want him out of there as soon as possible, as soon as humanly possible. For Virginia Democrats and National Party leaders, the political turmoil in the state is complicated by its racist history, as the one-time heart of the Confederacy, Mr. Northam, and the Attorney General, Mark Herring, are both white men who admitted wearing blackface. Well, Ralph Northam, it was like pulling teeth with him because he didn't try to quite admit it. That Mark Herring character, he did, but that Ralph Northam, yeah, he kept dancing around that one until he cracked. Many Democrats have been calling for Mr. Northam to resign, but some have been offering words of support for Mr. Herring. See, that's the one that they kind of try to throw under the radar. Virginia Democrats late Friday were already discussing who could replace Mr. Fairfax, with many in the party turning to State Senator Jennifer McClellan, according to multiple Democrats in the state. Ms. McClellan is a veteran African-American legislator from Richmond who was widely thought to have statewide aspirations even before the events of the last week. Nancy Erica Smith, a lawyer for Ms. Watson, said in a statement outlining her client's allegation that Ms. Watson was coming forward out of a sense of civic duty after learning about the allegation by Dr. Tyson. The details of Ms. Watson's attack are similar to those described by Dr. Vanessa Tyson, Ms. Smith said. Ms. Smith provided an email in exchange between Ms. Watson and a friend from Duke Milagros, Joy Brown, in which Ms. Watson tells her friend not to include her on correspondence regarding Mr. Fairfax because he had raped her in college. In an interview, Ms. Smith recounted her client's claim that Mr. Fairfax assaulted her during spring break in 2000 in a room at the House of Alpha Phi Alpha, an African American fraternity at Duke. It was her sophomore year at Duke and his senior year, and they were hanging out. They had never dated. She dated one of his friends. They did not have a romantic relationship. He gets up and walks out, comes back and shuts off the lights and locks the door. She knew things were going south when he locked the door. Ms. Smith would not describe details of the alleged sexual assault. Red flag. Any woman, and the thing is, I'm reading this right now, and it doesn't say anything about her being under the influence. She wasn't drunk, so she was sober. Any woman who was of age, who was raped, would be able to recount stuff that happened that night, because that stuff does not just leave your mind. And why in the hell did she not say anything back in 2000? This is 19 years ago. Why is she waiting 19 years later to tell this story? See, that's why you have to really examine everything when it comes to these types of cases. You can't always, nowadays, you really can't take every single word. You got to take stuff like this with a grain of salt. And this does not mean that I am supporting or I'm a rape apologist like some would probably say, because I already know many people would say that. But you don't automatically assume that what this woman is saying is true, especially when this stuff is coming out now. We know that when it comes to stuff like this, a lot of people tend to lie when it comes to stuff like this, especially in this climate of Me Too. Ms. Smith said that her client did not seek medical attention or go to the police or the university administration, and that Ms. Watson perceived Mr. Fairfax as a politically influential figure on campus. See, that's another red flag. Why didn't you go get medical attention? What is it with some of these so-called rape victims not getting medical attention? That's one of the first things you do, and you get a rape kit done. That way they can determine, you know, all the stuff that needs to be figured out so they can go forward with an investigation. They can't determine something that happened 19 years ago, 19 years later. You should have dealt with that back in 2000. A college friend of Ms. Watson, Kenedrick Adams, said in an interview Friday that Ms. Watson told her she was raped the day after she said it happened, and named Mr. Fairfax as her assailant. Ms. Adams said that she went to visit Ms. Watson at her apartment and that she was upset and she was kind of crying quietly, and she said that she had been raped by Mr. Fairfax. Ms. Adams recounted questioning Ms. Watson about what happened. I said, "Did you say no?" And she said no, she couldn't say no. Okay, I'm kind of confused on that part right there, but I'm going to keep going. And she said she was trying to get out of there, get away, remove herself from the situation, and she said Justin kept pushing her down. Karen Kessler, a spokeswoman for Ms. Watson, said Ms. Watson is not planning on litigation or seeking financial compensation. She said Ms. Watson, who has worked as a fundraising consultant for nonprofit companies, would not be conducting interviews discussing her allegations. Before Ms. Watson came forward, Mr. Fairfax had been grappling with Dr. Tyson's allegation and repeatedly insisting that he had been falsely accused and that no corroboration existed. But in recent days, friends and colleagues of Dr. Tyson's have come forward to support her. In interviews with the New York Times this week, 6 people said that Dr. Tyson told them over the last 2 years that she had been sexually assaulted at the convention, and that her account was consistent with her public statement this week. The people said she provided varying levels of detail, but 3 of them she identified the assailant as Mr. Fairfax, a lieutenant governor or politician on the rise. 2 professors currently joining Dr. Tyson in a prestigious fellowship at Stanford told the Times that she recounted the 2004 episode with Mr. Fairfax to them last fall, saying he had sexually assaulted her, which he told us was pretty much exactly what was in a statement that she released, but with vastly less detail. Another fellow, Jennifer J. Freed, a University of Oregon professor known for her work for studying sexual violence, also remembers the conversation, relaying that Dr. Tyson described how the incident was clearly a traumatic experience. Dr. Tyson did not tell anyone in 2004 about the encounter with Mr. Fairfax, according to people close to her legal team, and she did not notify the police or file a complaint with them. See, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, ladies in the chat, or ladies in the comment section, wherever you are listening to this, if you have been raped, what is the first thing you're going to do? You're going to go report it to the police as soon as possible, or you're going to try to get to the hospital and tell them what happened so you can get a rape kit done. What is it with these women saying they were sexually assaulted or raped and they're not getting medical attention. I don't, I'm not understanding this right now. I understand if you're going through trauma and shock at that moment, but you need to find a way to take care of that then and there. Don't bring this up years later, years down the line. Like, I'm not really understanding this right now. Okay, let's see. But throughout academia, there has been an outpouring of encouragement for Dr. Tyson, age 42, who has taught at Scripps College in California and Dickinson College in Pennsylvania over the last decade and earned a PhD in political science from the University of Chicago. More than 740 academics have signed a letter of support for her, according to its organizer, Nadia E. Brown, a political scientist at Purdue University, who said Dr. Tyson also told her that she was assaulted. A GoFundMe account set up by political scientists at Menlo College in California has raised more than $20,000 as of Friday morning. You know what? That's crazy. Now, if this shit comes out that she was lying, that means them people lost $20,000 and they just gave $20,000 to a liar. Everything she said in her statement was exactly what she told me when she talked. Let's see. It says she's not doing this for any fame. She's not suing him for any money. Of course, she's not going to sue him now. They got that GoFundMe set up. So she disbelievers and doubters can't say, oh, she just wants money. She just wants, as she says, the Virginia voters to know who this person is. Dr. Tyson has declined to give an interview for the Times. She has said she has spurred to come forward by the realization that Mr. Fairfax might soon become Virginia governor. Now, listen to that statement again. She was spurred to come forward by the realization that Mr. Fairfax might soon become governor. So my question to her is this. You didn't seek your medical attention then. You didn't go to the police to report it. So you didn't talk about it in 2005, 06, 07, 08, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. You wait until 2019 when he might become governor to speak out. Anybody listening to this by the sound of my voice knows that this is some bullshit. You wait until he is about to get a prominent position to say something. And that goes to the same chick that I just talked about from 2000, which was 4 years prior to the one I'm talking about now. You wait until now to say something. You didn't say anything then when the actual event, quote unquote, allegedly occurred. You wait until now when he's getting ready to possibly get into a prominent position, which could hold some historical feat to it because he'll be the second black person to have that position. And now you say this. You know, I was born at night, but I wasn't born last night. And I can see right through this. Let's see here. It says, in her statement, Dr. Tyson described the forced sexual encounter with Mr. Fairfax in a Boston hotel room while the two were working at the Democratic National Convention in 2004. It began with kissing that was not unwelcomed. Key words. She said, but quickly escalated into non-consensual oral sex. So this is the oral sex one, not the one before. But listen to that part. Not unwelcome. That means that part was consensual. That part where it was kissing. Well, what did she think was actually going to happen in that hotel room by themselves with each other with not unwelcoming kisses? Like I said, something about her story just to me does not completely add up whatsoever. And the same goes for the one before her. Like I said, you didn't report anything, then you didn't talk about it. You said that you waited, and you said, I had to say something now because he's about to possibly become governor. Okay. I see this for what it is. It's exactly what I think it is. It's a witch hunt. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Now watch this. If he gets forced to resign, we probably won't hear anything about what these two women talked about ever again. It's going to fade into obscurity. Their part in all of this will pretty much be done. They would have played their role. I have nothing more right now to say about this, but I don't know like what Justin Fairfax is going to do. I can say this. The stories of these two women right here seem very shaky to me. if I wasn't in my right frame of mind, I would probably be the ones to say, you know what, he did what he did. Now he's got to resign. However, if anything came out, I will say this. If anything came out that was alluding to evidence that he actually did what he did, then he's got to bite the bullet and he's going to have to face the music. But as of right now, and seeing how these Me Too heifers go after black men the way that they do with just hearsay, I have to look at this story from all angles. And as for that Kamala Harris and Cory Booker just jumping onto the bandwagon to throw this man under the bus immediately, and they have no evidence but just hearsay, is even more reason why I could never support them. But y'all let me know what you think down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. The links will be in the description. I will talk to you in the next one.